now shift to the starting line for the quarterfinals in funny cars. Pitting Kenny Bernstein of Louisiana in the far lane, Ron Harris of Pennsylvania on the near side, as they come up in the staging area to toe the line. 2,200 horsepower under the hoods of these plastic body cars. There's the staging lights. It goes from yellow to green. There's no warning. Alertness and the start is the key to success in drag racing, many will tell you. And they're off. Bernstein in the far side. Takes time. Harris's car explodes. His windshield is broken. His supercharger went off. Bernstein goes on to win. A tough break for the Pennsylvanian. Let's have another look. Here he comes down the line. There's the flame. The supercharger goes way up. These cars are built for safety, and so is the gear the drivers wear. We suspect he's okay, but we'll be back in 1 minute to check. The car is back in the pits now. Let's have a look at the damage. Between this and the engine itself was a supercharger before a 150-mile-an-hour backfire we saw going down the track. Now let's take a look at what a full-size supercharger looks like. Here's one here. The bottom part weighs 70 pounds. After the explosion, all that was left on this car was this part of the supercharger. From here forward, gone like shrapnel from a hand grenade down the drag strip. Now let's have a word with the driver, Roy Harris, a 15-year veteran. Roy, that ever happened to you before?
No, that's the first time we ever had a blower explosion.
What was it like at the wheel when it went off?
Well, it was a loud explosion, and you know, I knew it was very disappointing.
What about yourself? Did any of the pieces get to you?
No, everything stayed outside of the car. It just blows it up and away.
Okay, let's take a look at the windshield and hood area where the parts exploded. A dramatic testimony to the violence of the explosion in funny car racing. And a testimony to the safety. Look at that supercharger up in the air, bouncing down and braking on the track. A lucky man, Roy Harris. Now it's more quarterfinal funny car action with Kosti Ivanov, a Bulgarian refugee who lives in Boston, against Gordy Bonin, a Canadian. Ivanov's car, the Boston Shaker. Bonin's machine, the Pacemaker, as they wait for the signal to fly. Up go the noses and down the track they go. It's a close race with Ivanov slightly ahead of Bonin, and Ivanov wins it at 234.98 miles an hour, but Bonin's car is not slowing down. The parachute hasn't opened, and he's headed for the fence. He's going towards Riverside. He's still moving through the snake fence and up against the outside fence. Bonin appears okay, comes out of the car, a lucky man, and his parachute, for one reason or another, failed to open. Here it is again. Remember now, Ivanov is winning at 234.98 miles an hour, Bonin going about the same speed. The normal brakes won't stop the car going that fast. He throws it sideways, it goes through the netting and slams to a final stop against the fairground's outer fence. There it is. Our crew is down at the finish line with him.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm all right.
What happened?
Well, the parachute just failed to come out and got bouncing down here and went through the safety net. Slid her sideways into the chain link fence to get us stopped. One of those deals where if the parachute, it's my own fault for not getting the parachute in properly, apparently.
Did you do much damage to your car? Or?
Yeah, extensive. I mean, if we'd have won, we couldn't get it ready for next round. No way.
Tough break to the Canadian. It's not an animal in a cage in the zoo, but it's Kenny Bernstein coming back to drag racing. He goes against Dale Pulde. Bernstein was a racer several years ago, took a lot of time off to run a chain of restaurants in Texas, while Pulde, a youngster from Van Nuys, California, admits to getting his drag racing start midnight riding on Van Nuys Boulevard. It's Pulde in the far lane, Bernstein in the near lane. As they come up, that's Buster Couch, the man with the soundproof ears, waiting to send them on their way. Waiting for the light to flash. And off they go, and Pulde takes a quick lead, but bobbles, and Bernstein gets sideways, swerves, hits the fence, tears the right side off his car. Pulde slows way down, and Bernstein crosses the line first. What a dramatic day of drag racing we're having here at Pomona. It's unbelievable. Something happens in almost every round, and Bernstein cannot possibly make the finals with his car in that shape. Pulde coasts across behind him. Let's take another look. They're saying now that Pulde is the winner. All right, here they are. Pulde gets off, bobbles, and then Bernstein's car swerves. He crosses the line. That's an automatic disqualification. Hits the fence, tears the fiberwork off the side of his car, opens his parachute. We'll be back in 1 minute to talk with this ex-restaurateur. The damage to his car was confined primarily to the fiberglass bodywork that shrouds this alcohol-burning car. He was a lucky man. Here he is now.
No, it's probably too good.
Kenny, it was wild to watch. What caused it?
Well, the first thing that happened was the car shook violently, very hard. The tires shook, and when it happens, it's difficult to see what's going on inside the cockpit. And there's like 2 or 3 variations of shake. Most of the time they shake, and it's just enough you can go ahead and drive through it, and it doesn't bother you. But there's a violent shake, what I call violent, and that was a violent shake. The problem I did was I drove it a little too far in the shake, and she got a little out of control, and I should have probably lifted a little earlier, and that's the problem.
You hit the fence, but yet you kept going. Did you see Pulde on the other side, know where he was?
Well, that really wasn't a concern at the time. What I was trying to do was keep it off the guardrail. I saw the guardrail coming to me, and I thought if I just hit the throttle and it just bounced it right off the guardrail instead of going over. So I saw the guardrail coming, and I just hit the throttle, and I just a reaction, I guess, and it did. It put it right back out in the strip again, and then my foot got caught between the accelerator and down below, further down, and the throttle hung again open, and that wasn't intentional at all, but I was just kind of cramped up in there. But that's what took place.
Well, you won the race, but then you were disqualified for crossing the line. Had the victory stood, would you have been able to make the final in the time allowed?
Well, it's very hard to say. We hurt her up pretty good, but a lot of fiberglass can be fixed in a hurry, and we could have got some pieces together, and you never know. You can batch these things pretty quick. I know we would have tried.
Okay, better luck next time, Kenny.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Go. Nitro. Where men race cars, this means speed. Fuel is heat, and heat is horsepower is an old racing axiom. I'm standing in front of a 55-gallon drum of nitromethane racing fuel, the kind the top fuelers and funny car drivers use. To get down the strip takes between 5 and 7 gallons, and at $22.50 a gallon, that's over $150. Extend that into the mile, and it becomes over $500 for 1 mile of drag racing, a mighty expensive pastime. But it's more than a pastime for Dale Pulde of Van Nuys, California, and Ron Colson of Addison, Illinois, as they come to the line for the finals in the funny car competition. They've made it through all the preliminaries. Between $10,000 and $12,000 at stake in this one. Pulde, a youngster from Van Nuys, California, who said got his start street racing. Colson, a rather scientific type from Illinois, has everything figured out. Both of these cars have had a little bit of trouble in the preliminaries, but they have been repaired. It looks like 2 Darth Vaders going at it as they come to the line, critically moving to the position. The 2 top lights showing their pre-stage, and when the 2 yellow lights light below that, the fuse will be lit. One in, the other, and they're off. Up, and Colson has trouble. He crosses the line, and Pulde takes it down to win at 6.258 seconds. A tough break, but he'll take it any way he can get it. His speed, 238.72 miles an hour, as he heads for the welcoming crew at the end of the run. Tough break for Colson. Let's see what happened here. Apparently the car mishandled, and he crossed that center line, and that's an automatic disqualification. A long way to come for that type of finish. So Dale Pulde, the Van Nuys, California boy, gets the big welcome from the crew. Let's listen. There's nothing like winning, and that's what's on the mind of Miss Shirley Muldowney and Mr. Connie Kalita as they prep for the matchup of the meet. And we'll be back for that.
Let's meet the drivers in funny car. This, of course, Paul Smith, the #1 qualifier. Kenny Bernstein. Bernstein now living in Dallas, Texas. Ron Colson, one of the premier funny car racers in all the country, drives for Roland Leong. This is Dale Armstrong. Quite a story here. He moved up from Pro Comp racing. Billy Meyer, young man from Waco, Texas. Henry Harrison drives a car called the L.A. Hooker. Henry, one of the journeyman funny car racers throughout the country. Trip Shoemake, driver for Johnny Loafer. And this is Tom Hoover, the driver of the Showtime Corvette. We met all the drivers in the first round of racing. Here's the first car we'll be seeing in competition. This is Billy Meyer. He's sitting encased in the roll cage of the chassis. The body, the fiberglass body, is raised to allow the crewman in to start the engine. He uses an electric starter motor that spins over both the supercharger and the engine until it comes to life. The nitromethane fuel coursing through the fuel injector and the supercharged system. As the crewman gets ready to lower the body, Billy now beginning to concentrate on what he has to do. The first procedure is to get the body locked down, then he pulls forward into a puddle of water. This is the burnout area. All cars in competition in championship drag racing do burnouts designed to heat up the tires. The rubber compound used in these very wide slicks is designed to operate at the highest possible temperatures. So the only way you can get them hot on a race car is to actually burn them. And here you see the clouds of smoke coming off the burning rubber of those 17-inch wide slicks. Billy Meyer's competitor in round number 1 of racing is Henry Harrison at the wheel of the L.A. Hooker. The Corvette-bodied car out of the Los Angeles area. Billy hailing from Waco, Texas. Billy finished 4th in the world in 1979, making a hard run for that World Championship title that will culminate out at the World Finals in Ontario, California in October. The burnouts for both cars completed. The drivers inching their way up to the starting line. 2,000 horsepower at the beck and call of each of the racers. Henry Harrison out in front of Billy Meyer. He's extending his lead. And something's going wrong, and Billy from behind wins it. Billy Meyer, 6.51 seconds, 227 miles an hour. And he fell way behind right at the start. As we watch again, you see Henry Harrison in the far lane. Billy beginning to lose traction. He drops way back. Henry extending his lead. Then all of a sudden, something may be going wrong with Henry Harrison's car. Some smoke from Billy Meyer, but he's the winner.
So even the trouble-plagued races are close. In the 650s, both cars. What happened, Billy? We couldn't see from here.
It started sprinkling up on the start line. I think the windows got a little water on it and stuff. And this, I changed motors last night, as you know, and this one is just a little too stout, and it smoked the tires out 50 feet out, and had a little trouble getting it hooked back up. And when I did, I guess he had trouble too, and I drove by him.
Well, you were both having equal amount of trouble, I guess. But against a guy like Henry Harrison, he'll never lift.
No, that's true. And I've always found that, you know, it pays to pedal it and get it hooked up and then get going.
By pedal it, you mean?
By lift one time and then get back in the throttle, and the tires should be hooked up by then. If not, you're way behind anyway. So.
Dale Armstrong, the driver of the Speed Racer car, moved up out of Pro Comp Eliminator. He had practically dominated that category, driving all types of cars, from altereds to alcohol-burning funny cars to dragsters. But this is his first shot at the championship circuit at the wheel of a nitro-burning funny car, and he qualified in a very, very tight show. This is Ron Colson. He's the driver of Roland Leong's Hawaiian. Both drivers setting themselves for the start. Side by side, they are at the middle of the course, and then Ron Colson pulls it out in the last few hundred feet. He just drives away from Dale Armstrong. 6.13 seconds his elapsed time. His speed over 242 miles an hour, and a tremendous charge out of Roland Leong's car with Ron Colson at the wheel. You see the move right here. Look at him pull away from Dale Armstrong. Ron Colson, the winner in round number 2 of funny car racing. A disappointed Dale Armstrong heads back to offer his congratulations to Ron Colson. Colson moves on in the single elimination bracket that is championship drag racing. This solo qualifier, Paul Smith. The car is entitled The Sting. Alongside of Paul is Kenny Bernstein. Again, we look at the Christmas tree as it is seen from the point of view of the driver. In fact, Paul Smith would be looking at the Christmas tree just about the way you see it here. Staging lights are lit, the tree goes green, and Kenny Bernstein smokes the tires off the starting line. He backs out of it. Paul Smith very close to the center line, but an easy run, a fine 6.16 seconds, 234 miles an hour, and Kenny Bernstein just coasted through. It was at the first major race this season. He lost control of the car right off the starting line at the Winter Nationals and hit the guardrail. Here he was much more fortunate, able to lift off the throttle, bring the car under control, and Paul Smith very close to the center line.
Dave, Paul Smith concerned that he might have crossed the center line. You did not.
Didn't know. I thought I did. I come close. And I kind of drove her back there. I think it ran pretty good. Anybody here?
Yeah, it ran pretty good. This little budget operation just went 616.
Oh, that's good.
It's fixing to get interesting around here. The Hawaiian ran at 13, now you at 16. Will the track take more power?
I think that's the limit for today until it gets a little hotter, the track. It smoked the tires in the middle, that's why I almost crossed the center line.
The final pair of cars in the 8-car field that made up the first round of elimination. Funny car eliminator, Trip Shoemake at the wheel of Johnny Loper's car, while Tom Hoover, the owner, driver of his own operation, the Showtime Corvette. These two men finished 6th and 7th in the world in last season's World Championship points chase. Proudly bearing the number 6 on the side of the car is Tom Hoover. Number 7 was Trip Shoemake. The overflow crowd looking on intently as both drivers concentrating, and a slight lead for Trip Shoemake off the starting line. And he holds on to the finish. A close race. Trip Shoemake 6.25 seconds. The losing time only 6.27 seconds. Just 200ths of a second separating the two cars at the finish line. Shoemake held that slight lead throughout the entire quarter-mile race. And your winner, Trip Shoemake.
Another day, another dollar. Ow! I love it. I'm loving it. Okay.
Do you think Trip is just a little happy? We'll see him in round number 2 at the Cajun Nationals. Semifinal racing in Funny Car Eliminator finds the number 1 qualifier, Paul Smith, at the wheel of Larry Kugel's car called the Snake, racing against Ron Colson, who drives the famed Hawaiian for Roland Leong. The burnouts are over. The drivers, every effort now pointed to getting a good start. The winner of this race moves into the finals, and up in smoke goes Ron Colson. Paul Smith has got it made. The winner, and moving into the finals for the first time in his career, Paul Smith. Here, as we watch again, you see the car of Ron Colson losing traction almost instantly off the starting line, and that puts Paul Smith in the final.
Well, there was no question in anyone's mind that Paul Smith had the performance after qualifying number 1, but they said he couldn't last. What do you say to that?
I say we got one more round, and we got 8 new pistons from the Blue Max, and we got her made, I think.
So you had to borrow some parts, but it looks like the Cajun Nationals might be almost here.
I hope so. I hope so. I tell you, I've been so close, but never got all the way yet.
A man that's been all the way, and he's been to the winner's circle before, is Ron Colson, but he will not make it today as the car up in smoke off the starting line. The final pair in this semifinal round finds Billy Meyer from Waco, Texas, number 4 last season, racing Trip Shoemake. Shoemake out of Phoenix, Arizona, drives for Johnny Loper. He was 7th in the world last year. Very ecstatic young man after his first round win, but he's got some tough competition here with Billy Meyer. Again, looking at the Christmas tree starting system, you see the drivers pulling into the pre-stage and then the staging line. When that point's there, the switch is thrown and the tree goes green, and it is Trip Shoemake up in smoke. Billy Meyer just as straight as he can be. But Trip Shoemake all over that racetrack. He avoids hitting the guardrail and avoids the center line. But it is Billy Meyer who moves into the finals. Elapsed time 6.32 seconds. That means Paul Smith, by virtue of his better elapsed time in this semifinal round, will have the all-important lane choice going into the finals. Here you see Shoemake using up all of his lane as Billy Meyer heads for the finish line. Steve?
Now, Billy Meyer, after a disappointing Gator Nationals crossing the center line round 1, here you are. You're going into the final.
Yeah, it's nice. I didn't, after that first round, we kind of made a mistake after we changed motors last night. I don't know why he gave me that lane. It's kind of the deal like I did at Gainesville. Why'd I give that guy that lane? And that does it sometimes.
You told me this morning that you really wanted a hot day, and we've got a very cool one, but it's still paying off for you.
I thought I was going to run good first round, too. So can't always listen to me.
And that brings us to the Cinderella story of Paul Smith. As the crewman squirts fuel through the injectors, Paul nods his head, the engine comes to life. For the first time in his some decade-long career, Paul Smith is in the finals of an NHRA national event. Paul and partner Larry Kugel have done an outstanding job preparing this car. They had to borrow the parts to get the engine back together to get it to this point. The body coming down, latched securely, and Paul pulls into the burnout area. Can you imagine what's going through his mind at the moment? After all the years and after all the hard work, the effort put forth today, what do you think about as you get ready to make the last run of the event? And there's only going to be one winner. Will it be Paul Smith, or will it be the number 2 qualifier, Billy Meyer. Paul has been racing some 10 years. He's not a newcomer as far as his experience goes. Back in 1973 and 1975, he won divisional titles in the World Championship Series chase. Finished number 2 in the world in 1974 and number 3 in 1975. But in doing so has yet to win an NHRA national title. His competition, Billy Meyer, a 2-time national event winner. In fact, he was the youngest funny car driver ever to win a national title back in 1977. At the tender age of 23, he won the Fall Nationals. But the title at stake right now is the Cajun Nationals Championship for 1980. Paul Smith, Larry Kugel teaming up with the Sting. Billy Meyer, his 18-wheel trailer, a large supply of parts, did not have the problems Paul Smith and the low-budget crew had in getting to this final round. But budgets mean nothing when you reach this point. It's man and machine against each other over a quarter of a mile from a standing start. It's championship drag racing. And Billy Meyer into a wheel stand. Both cars crossed up off the starting line. They recover, and Billy Meyer wins it. Burns some pistons in the process, and something apparently going wrong with Paul Smith's car. But Billy Meyer's Waco, Texas-based funny car is your Cajun Nationals champ. Let's look again. You see the wheel stand by Billy Meyer. Both cars losing traction at the start. They head towards the center line. They drive away from it. And at this point, Billy Meyer pulls away as something going wrong in Paul Smith's car. Piston smoke pouring out of the headers for Billy Meyer, and it continues to pour off the car as we join Steve Evans.
David's corner sight down here is the number 1 and number 2 qualifiers make it to the final round, but it's Billy Meyer winning the race as they both encountered severe handling problems. Meyer's car steaming out of every pore, oil, water, you name it. They had the motor plenty hopped up to win this one, but it wasn't horsepower. It may well have been the valuable experience racing go-karts that Billy Meyer had years ago that paid off here. He was the first to recover and back on the throttle. We're chasing him down here, trying to get him out of the car, and I guarantee you, you're going to see a happy young man, because his last national event victory was well over a year ago, finishing number 4 in the world last year, and out comes Billy Meyer of Waco, Texas. William, congratulations. What happened up there? You both were sideways.
Mine did a wheel stand.
Did it?
And then it smoked the tires when it came on wheelie, and then I had to pedal, and I got crossed up and I almost crossed the center line. I couldn't believe he didn't come by me.
And the last race in Gainesville, Florida, you did cross the center line, so you had to be a little paranoid about that.
I was trying my heart out, and I nicked her a little bit too, I think.
By that he means burn some pistons, but you don't care right now. Pistons are cheap compared to the difference between win and runner-up.
That's true, I appreciate it. And the points held right now.
For sure. Paul Smith, the number 1 qualifier, congratulating Billy Meyer. And Billy says he did a wheel stand. He had no steering, obviously. With the wheels in the air, the car got sideways. But he recovered nicely, and it's Waco Willie. And here comes his crew. Mike Guger and Rick Peters congratulating their star driver right now, Billy Meyer, the Cajun Nationals champion.
And the weekend packed with excitement. Fortunate driver Tim Gross hearing the cheers of the crowd as he walks away from the wreckage of one of the worst crashes in all of motorsport. A $40,000 funny car is a pile of junk. That's what happened to Tim Gross's Datsun 280Z bodied funny car as it slammed into both guardrails at National Trail Raceway during a qualifying attempt. The crew having to lift the remains of the chassis and engine. You notice the front wheels completely gone from the car. Tim Gross looking on, very fortunate to be able to even watch what's going on at this moment. Let's watch as Tim Gross, in slow motion, you see it here, losing control of the car, slams first into the guardrail, On the left side of the racetrack, the car almost turning over at that point, coming back down onto what remains of four wheels, heads directly across track and slams into the guardrail on the right-hand side. The body separates from the car, and now the slow, agonizing tumble with the driver inside the roll cage, down the guardrail again and again. Fire breaks out when the fuel tank explodes. Tim Gross, encased inside the car, is conscious. You can see him moving around. He starts reaching for the seatbelt release as crew members from the staging lanes begin their pursuit of this tumbling funny car, trying to offer some assistance. But is Tim Gross doing it himself as he reaches for the seatbelt release, gets the belts loose, gets his legs first out of the car. He then rolls out, hits the ground, and starts running.
Well, Tim, amazingly enough, other than a ripped fire suit and a little spot on your finger, you look hale and hearty.
I feel fine. A little bit sore, but a little disappointed more than anything, I would suppose.
Well, I've seldom seen a driver. I've never seen a driver take that kind of a pounding in a funny car and come out as well as you have.
Well, I don't know if that deserves an award or not, but I would say that I could see that I was definitely in trouble. The throttle was stuck. I attempted to lift up the throttle, and when it came around, I knew I was going to hit the guardrail. So I just tucked myself in as best as I could and tried to ride it out.
When you saw the fire, obviously, to get out.
All right, the immediate thought, yeah. I really had no idea it was really that bad. In fact, to tell you the truth, I don't think I even felt the second impact. I was probably momentarily knocked out.
Well, just that you're standing here talking to me says a lot about the rules and the car builders.
And definitely for the safety, yeah, because really the whole back half of the car stayed completely intact. Those rear tires are definitely a cushion, added security there. So, as it rolled over and it was on the rail, with the way the rules are set up, of course, I was completely covered.
Ed the Ace McCulloch of Sanger, California. Dale Pulde will be his competitor at the wheel of the War Eagle. The reigning world champion Raymond Beadle in the famed Blue Max against John Collins. Billy Meyer here with his lovely wife Deborah against the four-time world champion Don the Snake Prudhomme. In round number 2 competition, it is Tom Hoover, the Corvette-bodied creation, against Rick Johnson. All eyes on the starting line. A great lead by both cars. Johnson drifting close to the center line. And a close race as Tom Hoover wins it. His elapsed time, 6.22 seconds. The losing time, 6.25 seconds. Only 0.03 of a second difference between the two cars. And the difference may be that Rick Johnson drifting very close to the center line may have had to lift. And here's Rick Johnson. He's not happy with himself. He's packing up his helmet, taking his fire suit off, and decides, why sit out here in the wind? Let's go back inside. Our next pair of cars, Ed McCulloch in the lane nearest the camera, the War Eagle of Dale Pulde, the far lane. McCulloch dropped out of drag racing for a couple of years, back in it again at the start of this season. And it's got his hands full, not only with a 2,000 horsepower car, but the strong headwinds that are blowing on this track can affect these full-bodied cars a bit more than they can the slender and narrow top-fuel dragsters that we've seen thus far. The War Eagle of Dale Pulde into the winner's circle at the Winter Nationals. McCulloch has yet to win a national title in his comeback. His crew chief, Bernie Lewis, checking everything over, saying it's ready to go. Pulde patiently waiting. That's both cars getting set for the all-important start down the quarter mile. And Pulde up in smoke, almost hits the guardrail. McCulloch holds the car through for the quarter of a mile at 6.26 seconds at 226 miles an hour. As we watch again, you see the smoke coming off the tires, indicating losing traction for Pulde. McCulloch also losing traction just a bit, but he comes back and recovers and takes the win over the War Eagle.
Until Don Prudhomme came along, there was no bigger name in AA fuel funny car racing than Ed the Ace McCulloch from Fresno, California. McCulloch now going into the semifinals. Ace,
Were you concerned about that lane that had just been oiled down?
Well, actually, I was when I first saw it get oiled, and then Gary went up there and took the opposite lane, and I questioned that, and they do a really good job cleaning it up. They run the track dryer over, so I figured it'd be okay, so we took it.
How's it feel to be back in a serious threat now?
Well, you know, what can I say? The car runs well. We'd like to be running a little bit better here, but we're not hurting it bad. We had a little problem qualifying, but got it straightened out, and I think we'll be okay.
Looks like it. Thank you, Ace.
Thanks, Steve.
As Ed heads back to the car on the starting line, it is the defending world champion, Ray Beadle in the Blue Max from Dallas, Texas. Stopping the string at 4 for Don Prudhomme. Last season, Ray Beadle won the very coveted world champion title. He's against John Collins in one of the Datsun 280Z bodied cars. John had the misfortune of crashing his car in March of this year, and this is his first major event since a total rebuild. Ray Beadle, the world champion, in the near lane. John Collins in the right lane. And a wheel stand start by Beadle. He's all over the race course, but he gets it straightened out, and he's on fire. An engine explosion, the fire coming out underneath the car, the parachute whipping through the breeze. Beadle trying to bring the car to a stop. Steve, you're down there. What's going on?
This time, Dave, Raymond Beadle sliding to a stop down here. The emergency crews rushing from both ends of the racetrack. He actually stopped in rather an awkward part of the racetrack and not normally where the fire equipment is needed, but they're on him now.
Ray Beadle encased in his fire suit, A-OK. As we watch it again, you see him leave the starting line. The wheels are in the air. It begins to drift out towards the guardrail. Raymond drops the front wheels back on the pavement. Meanwhile, John Collins trying his best to pull ahead of the world champion. As Raymond making the charge for the finish line, the engine explodes. Some piston smoke out of John Collins' car, but the fire is the important thing in the Blue Max. You see the parachute, part of the shroud lines burned away, and there is where Ray Beadle hits the onboard fire extinguishers and knocks the fire down. John Collins with his arm around Ray Beadle. Both drivers A-OK. The Blue Max itself singed just a little bit. Here again, Steve.
Dave, Raymond Beadle says it was a little hot under his seat. You okay?
Yeah, it's okay. The car just wheel stood real good. I had to let it down, and yeah, it's okay. Just got a little hot, no problem.
The onboard fire extinguishers really help.
Yeah, well, the car, I wasn't going to use them at first, and it got too hot, and I just had to...
Well, bet it got hot.
Yeah, a little hot.
And you know, waiting down here for you is some of the finest emergency crews anywhere.
Yeah, no problem. They were right on the deal. I just wanted them to get the body up in case it was on fire, but it's okay.
Okay, what now? Change engines?
Yeah, we'll change motors. No problem.
Okay, Raymond Beadle is all right, but what a spectacular fire under the Blue Max.
Steve, the emergency crew having their work cut out for him today is back on the starting line. The man that has won 4 consecutive world champion titles in funny car racing, Don Prudhomme, sits patiently as his crew chief Bob Brandt starts the some 2,000 horsepower engine. The body will be lowered down over Prudhomme and latched into place firmly. But now it goes back up again momentarily. And Bob Brandt walks in, checks everything over. The engine just sort of idling away. They can run for a number of minutes. They carry water inside the blocks and cylinder heads. And on nitromethane fuel, just idling, they can idle for quite some time before they get too hot. As he pulls into the water and does his burnout, a very popular event with the drag racing fans. Don Prudhomme is matched against Billy Meyer from Waco, Texas. Here in slow motion, we see the burnout, and the rear of the car seems to rise in the air, and that is because the tires, as they are spinning, grow in size some 6 inches or more due to the centrifugal force. The purpose of the burnout, of course, is to heat the tires up. Prudhomme doing another dry burnout, as does Billy Meyer. Meyer backs into position, and the starter giving the cutoff sign to Don Prudhomme. The crew for Billy Meyer applauding. Competition director Steve Gibbs shaking his head to the snake, saying, no, you cannot run it. Something apparently coming out of the motor, either oil or water, that would have made it hazardous for Prudhomme to complete the run, so it's a single for Billy Meyer. Billy out of shape right off the starting line, gets near the center line and backs away. If he had had a good run going, you may have seen him trying for a good low elapsed time, as the low ET from the previous round getting the choice of lanes in the next round of racing. But for Prudhomme, his racing day is done, and this is a very rare occurrence. You very seldom see Don Prudhomme shut off at the starting line for leakage of any type. For Billy Meyer, a nice victory as he now goes into the semifinals, taking off his fire suit and racing equipment, handing it to his wife, Deborah. Today, an overflow crowd of spectators in the house for these final eliminations. Meantime, Steve's caught up with Don Prudhomme.
Well, just when things look brightest, low ET of the event at a 6:08, you give one away. What happened?
It had an oil leak, Steve. You know, these things you just never know. They shake and vibrate so much from run to run, you don't know what the heck's going to happen. And the car had an oil leak. You know, it was an oil line that was left loose, and, you know, what can I say? Shut us off.
Well, everyone knows that it's the quickest car in all of drag racing. It's just a matter of time before it's back in the winner's circle.
Yeah, it's disappointing. You know, we felt as though that the car could run real good here, run a 6:08, and you know, I think it had a little left in it, and it's disappointing.
The engine is running, the body comes down, an incredible story. The Blue Max of Raymond Beadle is running and ready to go. An incredible rebuild job. They stripped this car to the bare chassis. They put a new engine in, a new parachute on, new safety belts after that devastating fire in the previous round. A pair of Texans matching up here. Ray Beadle, #1 in the world last season. Billy Meyer is #4. A tribute to the crew of Dale Emery, Fred Miller, and Dee Gant to get this car to the position that it is right now, running and doing its burnout in the semifinals. Beadle backing up, and Billy Meyer can't back up. He's got problems. If he comes across that center line, and he did, he is out of competition. He's driving the car back up to the starting line. And this is a sight you very rarely see on any drag strip. Two cars coming at each other head on. The Blue Max against Billy Meyer. Meyer coming around him and passing him, heading back behind the starting line area. As Beadle's crew concentrating on their car, they know what happens when you cross the center line. You go out of racing. So it will be a single for Beadle as Billy Meyer, a very unhappy young man, tells his crew that something apparently went wrong with the reverser and he couldn't back up. Beadle on a very, very strong run. And there is low elapsed time of funny car eliminations, 6.04 seconds, and that on a completely rebuilt car. His speed 227 miles an hour. Billy Meyer stripping off his fire suit, heads back through the staging lanes.
Well, even though you had already spent your arsenal of engines, you sure didn't take it easy. Low ET of the meet 6:04, Raymond.
Well, we thought we'd run good. You know, we've been having trouble, Steve.
I'll say you've been having trouble.
Well, when we saw Billy break his reverser, well, you know, that made me feel a lot better because I knew unless we changed the rules, all of a sudden you can't cross the center line.
That's right. And everybody in the pits is saying only Raymond Beadle and only in Texas could this have happened to just completely overhaul this car from seat belts to fire suit to everything.
Well, like I said, I knew we run really good because when I ran, I blew the windshield in, so I knew I run really good.
A broken windshield in the Blue Max. I'm sure you must have another windshield, too.
Sure enough.
I figured you did.
So it's back to the pits and more work for the Blue Max crew, but it's well worthwhile as they're in the finals. We'll find out who will be running Ray Beadle in just a couple of seconds, as it is Tom Hoover with the Showtime Corvette against Ed the Ace McCulloch. You heard earlier McCulloch, and something wrong with McCulloch's car. An incredible amount of breakage in this Spring Nationals Championship. They're frantically working on the right-hand side of the engine. The crew in trying everything they can to fix it. And with this engine running, it puts out a tremendous amount of heat, especially out of the header and exhaust system. They're kicking at something, and actually it looks like they're beating on something on the right-hand side of the car. Whatever it is, it's serious enough to keep Ed McCulloch from pulling up to the starting line. Again, Steve Gibbs shaking his head no and saying it's a single for Tom Hoover. So it is Tom Hoover against Ray Beadle in the final of Funny Car Elimination. There's a phrase called Well, that's drag racing, and it's hard to believe the tough breaks that have come the ways today. And Ed McCulloch, the recipient of the latest out of competition, having to be shut off at the starting line. After the disastrous fire, the car completely rebuilt, ran low elapsed time of the meet thus far. Now preventive maintenance taking place and the replacement of the broken windshield. In the Hoover pit area, though, things a bit different.
Dave, the crew chief on Tom Hoover's Showtime Corvette, is his dad, 74-year-old George Hoover of Minneapolis. George, how you coming here?
Oh, we're going to make it, that's for sure.
I just saw you walked over to Raymond Beadle and you said, I don't know why you guys are working so hard. You're just racing us.
Well, of course, it's all in kidding, you know. I don't know what to say there.
Well, Beadle says he doesn't trust you. He said you're liable to lean on this thing and just maybe beat him.
Well, of course we're going to lean on it. What else?
You hear the sounds of the 2,000 horsepower engines, the nitro-burning power plants underneath the fiberglass replica bodies that constitute Funny Car Eliminator. All the work is over. There's one more run to go. Will it be the Blue Max of Raymond Beadle from Dallas, Texas, or from Minneapolis, Minnesota, the Showtime Corvette of Tom Hoover? And Hoover up in smoke right on the starting line. Beadle another great run. And that's how good it was. 6.09 seconds at 235 miles an hour. As we look back on the run, you see Tom Hoover, the minute he let the clutch out, and his dad, the crew chief, said they were going to lean on it a little bit. Well, maybe they leaned just a little too much. Ray Beadle not quite in such a rush to get back to the pits.
Well, in the background, maybe you can hear it popping and sizzling and cooking. But here is Raymond Beadle, the Spring Nationals Funny Car champ. What a struggle.
Let her pop, as long as we win.
Hoover smoked the tires.
It was a good run. I knew we run good. I didn't know what happened to him. I never saw him. I didn't know that.
Another 6-0.
How good was it?
6:09.
6:09. Well, can't complain.
The first of two Funny Car semifinals, pitting Blue Max Raymond Beadle in the near lane against four-time world champion Don Prudhomme. Al Segrini and Billy Meyer make up the second semifinal. Beadle is just back from England, where he swept the card every time out, and Prudhomme is going for a 30th national victory. And they're off. Prudhomme streaks ahead to lead Beadle in the rock, and he may get that 30th national victory. Prudhomme's time, 6.056 seconds, over 238 miles an hour. Prudhomme said earlier that he came to the Summer Nationals with a game plan. Had to do with his engines. He qualified on one engine, and he's saving his best engine for the finals. We'll be back for more in 1 minute. The second semifinal with Billy Meyer in the near lane. He's from Waco, Texas, and Al Segrini from Easton, Massachusetts in the far lane. Meyer has been dragging since he was a teenager and has aspirations to someday set the world land speed record. Here he is in his bright yellow car. Look at that fiberglass body vibrate under the horsepower of that engine. These funny cars have the engines up front. The driver's legs are alongside the bell housing, and if a flywheel explodes, it could be very dangerous. The funny car of today is considered perhaps the most dangerous of all drag racers. And starter Buster Couch tells them to shake a leg and bring their cars to the line, keep the program moving. And now Segrini moves in for the ever-thrilling start. There they go. Segrini swivel, and Meyer streak. An easy win for the youngster from Texas. 6.168 seconds is a lap time. His speed, 233 plus miles an hour. In winning the semifinal and earning a starting spot alongside the most feared man in funny car racing, Don Prudhomme. Like Prudhomme, Meyer's operation is heavily financed, but in Prudhomme's case, he just oversees the work. Meyer, mechanically oriented, likes to do his own work, and he'll be working on his car right up to the final time that may well put him at a disadvantage when the lights go green. How do you look at Meyer in the final?
Well, you know, he's a very talented guy. He's been running all these national events. He's been right there, and, you know, you just never know. He stands as good a chance to win the race as I do.
Well, you've won 29 of them, so you know what it's like to win. Tied with Bob Glidden, incidentally, for overall wins. A win today might put you ahead of everyone else.
Yeah, it would kind of be nice to win that 30th national event, that's for sure, but then I'd probably want to win 40 or 50 more.
Why not?
Sure.
And the snake takes it easy, waiting for the final while his staff does the get-ready work. And now for the very popular funny cars. Here's Billy Meyer in the near lane in a citation body car, and he goes against a seasoned professional, Don Prudhomme from Granada Hills, California, in an omni-bodied funny car. Prudhomme versus Meyer. Prudhomme had to beat Beetle. Meyer had to beat Seguini to make the finals here at Englishtown. And now Meyer, who won at the Cajun Nationals in his citation bodied car, he's short, blonde, and bemustached. Prudhomme, who won the Gator Nationals earlier, has been around this sport a long time. He started in Top Fuel, jazzing the throttle as they danced their cars to the line. The man in the red shirt, his ears bombarded by the sounds through days of drag racing here is Buster Couch, and he's the man that will send them on their way. When those lights go and they're off. That's close, but Meyer's car is falling behind. He's obviously in trouble. And Don Prudhomme scoots through to win and score his 30th national event victory. 6.103 seconds. The fans just love it, and he has legions of them. So Don Prudhomme, who started out in Top Fuel, comes across to win another national event, and his crew races down the side road, accepting his quarter to the big crowd here at Englishtown. Prudhomme used a strategy. That was to take his qualifying engine, take it out after the time trials, and put it aside. He raced on another engine through all the rounds in the quarterfinals and the semifinals, and then put the qualifying engine in for the final round. And it paid off for the snake from Granada Hills, California, with another victory that should carry him on over $10,000 here at Englishtown. And off with the safety gear, the gloves, the helmet, and the balaclava. Well, Don, you must feel pretty good these days about New Jersey. Your third Garden State victory. Congratulations.
Thank you, Chris. It's been a hard struggle. It's been a while since we won a national event.
Well, and it's number 30, and Bob Glidden was beaten in Pro Stock, so now you're the undisputed winner of national events with a record 30. Congratulations there, too.
Thank you very much, Chris. It was a lot of fun.
I'll bet. It's always fun you win, isn't it?
You bet.
Okay.
Thank you very much.